You know when the Ocean City Air Show comes to town, you're in for something special. You get to be familiar with the visiting aircraft after a while, and the folks that keep them flying become just like old friends. Now at this year's show, we got a chance to catch up with one of our old friends from Georgetown, Delaware. It's never business as usual at the Ocean City Airport whenever the air show is in town. Now you can keep your jets and fancy helicopters, because today I'm just waiting on an old friend, and I expect her to be dropping in at any moment. There she is, right on time. Ladies and gentlemen, say hello to Panchito, a North American B-25 bomber that served in World War II, one of only about 45 still flying today. And what better way to go out and say hello than in our brand new Jeep? Now Larry Kelly owns this magnificent old warbird, and he's going to tell us a little about her.
The original Panchito was a B-25J assigned to Don Seiler after he had came back from his first combat tour down in the Central Pacific. And he saw the Disney movie, The Three Caballeros, and he knew what he was going to paint on his airplane in. Karaoke Joe, Donald Duck, and Panchito were the three characters. So the original Panchito is in a ditch or a ravine somewhere buried at Clark Field in the Philippines. This airplane was built in October 1944, this airframe, and it was used in the Southeast Training Command in this country. Tom Riley bought the airplane, and then he spent almost 9 years with he and his professional crew completely rebuilding the airplane back to its original configuration. And it's been flying ever since 1986.
We first met Panchito back in 2009 when Chopper Chuck and I got some great footage of this beautiful aircraft in action. So today's flight will be a welcome reunion.
Let's load them up.
Here we go. There is nothing, and I mean nothing, like the sound of those big old Pratts when they fire up. It's a tight fit in these old bombers, and I'll be joined by our buddy Randy Scott from Froggy 99. His grandfather was part of a bomber crew during the war, and now he gets to experience it for himself. And before you know it, we're heading out over the beach on a beautiful afternoon. Now we'll head north up the beach for a bit before making our return. And that's when I get a surprise. Larry Kelly asked me if I want to take the controls. And I'm not going to give him the chance to change his mind.
Okay, climb to the left, dive to the right.
Yep. You got it. And steep turns. If you're not on that, it will take you forward.
I would imagine, yeah.
Let's head on back.
Okay, I want to
Stay clear,
left. And put a little nose down there.
Looks good, Will.
Still a little more nose down.
Do you want to do any filming up in the bombardier's nose?
Now Chuck gets a chance to go up to the nose, and it's as tight a fit today as it was for the bomber crews 2 generations ago. You have to lie on your back and shimmy head first using these 2 poles. But the view is well worth it. This is how many young servicemen, most of whom had probably never even crossed the county line back home, saw Europe and the Pacific back in the 1940s. It must have seemed an amazing adventure. These days, Panchito's main mission is to serve our disabled American veterans. Her crew has been working with the DAV as part of their aviation outreach program to help veterans get the benefits they've earned. And today's perfect flight concludes with a perfect landing from co-pilot Calvin Peacock.
I mean, this was an incredible experience, just to be airborne and to have my grandfather be a tail gunner on this very machine in World War II. Just starting to get emotional now thinking about it, but it was incredible.
There's some people out there that say, well, these old icons, we need to retire them and put them in museums. I said, well, everybody's entitled to their thoughts, but when I go to the National Zoo and I go to the lion pen, I don't want to see a stuffed lion. I want to hear that lion roar, and I want to see the life of it. because it's not the same sitting cold in a museum.
You bet.
So we're going to keep them flying as long as we can, because there was an awful lot of young men that paid the ultimate sacrifice in these airplanes.
You put it just right. This old bird still roars.
It's still doing its job for the veterans that it did back in the 40s. It's still doing it today.
Great. Larry, thanks again for the ride.
Thank you, Willie. Appreciate you going with us.
Get outdoors, Delmarva.